Welcome to Spotlight on the NBA, only here on Sports TV Plus. You can catch us on a plethora of streaming apps. I'm your host, Alex Campbell, here with Gerald Bentley.
Hey,
Gerald, the wrestling spotlight Bentley. There we
that's
go.
right. Getting
So,
ready on the
how
road to
are you? How are you
WrestleMania.
doing this? Yeah. Tell us about WrestleMania.
Coming up in Las Vegas. I'll be leaving there on leaving to get there on April 16th, and there's something like 20 pro wrestling shows going on around WrestleMania and a convention. So it's going to be crazy. It takes over the city. When I was in Philadelphia last year, everywhere you walked around, there was somebody there for WrestleMania. It's really an amazing event. It actually pulls in as much revenue for the city as the Super Bowl does.
Wow,
Yeah, I didn't even believe it at the time, but it does.
that's incredible.
And
That's just
there's more actual fans there because it's not all sponsors like the Super Bowl is. So
yeah.
it's a
The
huge
Super Bowl
event.
is very corporate. It's
Mhm.
notorious. It's actually known normally as one of the quietest crowds.
Oh yeah, it's impressive. If you get a chance, if it's in your area, go, because even if you don't know who's who, you'll catch on because the fan activity and interaction's amazing. A lot
Yeah.
like a good basketball game.
Right. Well, like, have you ever seen like a FIBA game before? You know what I mean? Like, or like one of those Olympic games, like country versus country basketball. There's
Hmm.
nothing quite like it. The fans are just completely electric. It's like watching a Premier League soccer match. You know what I mean?
Oh
When you're
yeah,
watching
where
FIBA,
everybody's
it's
singing along
crazy.
with it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just nuts. It's just nuts. All right, well, let's talk about a major milestone for one of the NBA's greatest players of all time. Inarguably, the greatest shooter of all time becomes Steph Curry, becomes the first player in NBA history to record 4,000 three-pointers.
It's an
Unreal.
amazing stat, and it just shows he was really one of the first people that kind of brought in that current style that you see, right? I mean, we've talked about it on college basketball, and you can't avoid it in the NBA. Four out, one in, and everybody that's out can nail a three. And it's definitely changed the game because you get so much more spacing. You can stretch it out a lot more, and you're never really out of the game if you're going to add 3 points at a time. If you have a hot 3 point shooting night, you're in any game. And
Yeah.
Steph Curry is one of the guys who's brought that, for good or bad, brought that
Well,
style into the league and permeated into college too.
yeah, more than anyone, I would say. I mean, if you were to name any one player who influenced it the most, it would be Steph Curry. There's zero question about that. I mean, yeah, so it can be looked at in some cases as a negative. I think the three-point shooting is like a lot of a reason that the viewership's down, and we've talked about that quite a bit. You know what I mean? But he's undeniable in how he's just really kind of taken that whole three-point metric to a whole new level. I mean, I know we like he's always going to be remembered for like those like 2013 to like 2016 years when like they could really pour it on. I mean, it wasn't uncommon for the Warriors to come out in the second half and go on like a 24-3 stretch. You know what I mean? Like it happened over and over and over again. They could score in bunches. He helped set the record for the best record win-loss record in NBA history. And then is really the common elixir in the only championships that Kevin Durant will ever win. Um, and really is the engine that made the whole thing go for all of the championships that the Warriors have had, in this era. And what a sidekick Klay Thompson, was for a number of years, and arguably another top five three-point shooter of all time. It's pretty
Sure.
crazy how they ended up on the same team, and a credit to Bob Myers, the GM. But yeah, just sensational. 4,000 three-point shooters or three-pointers. That's just insane, just insane. And we talked about it last week. It's part of this growing trend for the Warriors of Curry kind of showing a lot of that old Curry life, with with Butler on the floor, the defense simply cannot focus as much on Curry, and they don't follow him around like, fourth grade soccer. Uh,
Yeah.
he just
I
doesn't,
mean, look here. Look at the last 10 games. It looks like the
Mhm.
old Steph Curry, doesn't it? 32 minutes a game, 51.5 from the field, 43.9 from three-point range,
Yeah.
29.5 points a game. And if you just look at the last week, the Warriors now sitting at 37-28. Probably win this game. They go to 38-28. The last 5 games before this, they beat Portland by 10. They beat the Pistons, a Pistons team that's coming on, beat them by 5. Beat the Nets, beat the Knicks by 12, and thumped the Hornets 119-101. So they're coming at it at the right time. And I want to give a little bit of respect to a guy who was one of the first three-point shooting specialists in the league. Just happens to be the Warriors coach, Steve Kerr.
Hmm. Hmm.
So
Yeah,
there's a thread line there too. Curry is the person who
absolutely.
really broke the door down, but Steve Kerr is one of the first guys who really made the three-point shot an important part of his game.
Yeah,
And
no,
really,
I agree.
it was his
But
game.
I mean, the biggest thing, right, is winning games, and like, I mean, they're 9-1 in their last 10. Like, they are
Mhm.
shooting up the standings in the West right now. And like we talked about last week, like, they are not a team. You look at any of these young teams in the West. Like, if I'm the Grizzlies, no thanks. If I'm the Thunder, no thanks. I do
No.
not want to play this team. Two teams I don't want to play. I'm one of those young teams: the Lakers and the Warriors. The Lakers and the Warriors. I don't know who they draw in the first round. The Warriors right now are six. I don't think they're going to eclipse the Rockets. I think that's probably where they stay, because the Rockets aren't done yet. They're not just going to fall off a cliff. Um, so yeah, I don't think they eclipse the Rockets. I think they stay there at six. The Lakers, the Nuggets, they're going to stay. The Grizzlies are doing great. I mean, they're 5-5 in their last 10, but the Grizzlies had a lead to begin with. I could see them slipping a little bit, but they're only going to change position with the Lakers or the Nuggets if they do. I don't think it's going to influence where the Warriors end up, but still, it's a great spot. And what are you going to play? You're going to play the 3 seed. I mean, yeah, look, if you draw the Nuggets, I think that's a problem. I think the Warriors probably lose to the Nuggets. But
Yeah, I mean, they are here. They're one bad shooting game away from being knocked out. Yeah, I think your top 3 seeds and really the Lakers healthy are significantly better, but the Warriors always have it's not the puncher's chance, it's the shooter's chance, and if
mhm.
they're hot, they can go with anybody.
Right. Or like if I mean, let's say the Nuggets come on strong here at the end, the Lakers surge, and the Grizzlies drop to the third spot. There is a perfect matchup. There there's a young team with a lot of playoff inexperience going up against Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry. I mean,
Mhm.
nightmare. Like, nightmare. Now they have a
No.
lot more rim protection, but I bet the Warriors will shoot them right out of the gym. Will shoot them right out of the gym. And Butler gives them a tenacity at the rim that they just have not had, probably since Iguodala.
No, I would agree with that, and rim protection is only worth so much when you're getting the ball up from 25 feet.
Right, right, yeah, yeah, and they
Changes the
they have
game.
shooters
It's
beyond
not
just
a good
Curry too.
matchup. Mhm.
You know, I mean, Draymond has grown as a shooter. They've got bigs they can shoot outside of him now. They've got a good shooting team. So it's not just Curry. But yeah, he can really fill it up. And Butler, like you did, it's a pick your poison with them, and they've done things like kind of what I thought that like was gonna free things up for Curry when they signed Chris Paul a year ago. A lot of it's happened now already with Butler, where the attention of the defense has been drawn. You know what I mean? And you can kind of see the magic of Curry comes back because, like, if you draw a double team without the ball, you're not scoring. Like, the NBA is so long and athletic, and that's what was happening to Curry. He was drawing a double team without the ball. That's impossible to get around, especially for a player who's not extremely large. I mean, he's a relatively small player who's also not an
Mhm.
elite athlete. He's a great athlete, not an elite athlete.
No,
So
he's incredibly skilled.
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, no, I
so,
absolutely totally agree. Now,
yeah.
Denver,
So
just to go over to the Nuggets because we were talking about that conference.
mhm.
Do you feel that Denver is picking up stride and peaking at the right point? Because they've been looking good, and they're led by Nikola Jokic, who, if Shai's not the MVP, Jokic probably is. The guy's averaging a triple double this year: 29,
Yeah.
12.9 rebounds, 10.4 assists,
Mhm.
and then getting some great benefit. We were watching the Big 12 tournament, the SEC tournament earlier. Missouri's Michael Porter Jr. showing that rivals can exist. Missouri's Michael Porter Jr. and Kansas's Christian Braun combining for over 33 points a game. A couple of young guys coming in and really helping supplement that Nuggets team along with the Joker.
Yeah, yeah. I like the Nuggets a lot. I for some reason, not some reason, he's a great player. They really struggle against Ant Edwards. They every time they go up against the T Wolves, they really struggle. In the last game, they lost by 20, and that was just 2 nights ago. They got
Yeah.
a big one against the Lakers, tomorrow night. But yeah, um, they just always they split the series. They split the 2 game series with the Thunder, which was great. They're only 500 in their last 10. They have a nice win against the Pistons in there, a decent win against the Kings, a loss to the Celtics, which is common, I guess. And the Celtics are a really good team, but again, like if you those are the teams though. The Thunder you have to be able to beat consistently. The T Wolves you're going to have to be able to beat if you want to go anywhere in the playoffs. The Celtics are, they're a championship caliber team, a team that
Mm-hmm.
you got to get your favorite quote. You want to be the best, you got to beat the best. And I just
Gotta
don't
beat 'em, yeah.
know. Yeah, and the question really always is Jamal Murray. Is he ever going to have a season or a playoff run like he did the year they won the title? That's really the key. Jokic is going to be great because he always is. Is Murray, and I don't think Murray's in a spot right now where he's going to be at the same level. I mean, he's a great player, but like he's not going to be. You know what they need? They need Donovan Mitchell, and he plays on another team.
Sure. Another team that's
Yeah,
obviously a factor in every conversation. Actually, probably not getting enough respect. The
no,
Cavaliers.
they've been dominant. They've been absolutely dominant. But I mean, just to stick on the Nuggets for a minute, I do think in this playoffs you're going to see like they're way too dependent on Jokic. They're not the same team. Like Aaron Gordon is not the same player. Murray's not the same player. MPJ is not the same player. They don't have it. There's no KCP on
Is
that team.
is there another level still for Porter Jr. and Christian Braun, or do you think what you're seeing is what you get?
Probably, but how much do you increase? As a role player, how much can you increase the ceiling? What they really need is Jamal Murray to return to form, and I think the whole NBA world knows that's not happening. You know what I mean? It's not. They can't just
Hmm.
flip a switch. He just hasn't been able to stay healthy enough, and because of that, I think he's missed long stretches, and he's gotten a little older, and he can't recover from injuries as fast. And this is the product you get. Again, very comparable to Donovan Mitchell. That the year they won the title a few years back, he was very comparable at that time to Donovan Mitchell, and now he is not.
That's fair, yeah. Because Donovan Mitchell, like I said, in terms of not getting respect, I mean,
Yeah,
he's a guy who should be coming up, I think, in conversation for the MVP as well. Cavaliers have
I
the best
agree.
record in the league.
He's the best player on the best team, which is normal, and he's never won one before. If you're all three of those things, like honestly, that's normally who wins the MVP. You just tell me all three of those things. It's like who normally wins.
Yeah, he played almost every game of the season. Um, just been a consistent contributor to a team that's really overwhelmed their expectations. I mean, we thought the Cavaliers would be good. I don't think anyone would have penciled them in for having the best record in the league during the preseason.
I'll credit my 17-year-old son Elijah. He
He did?
nailed it. He's told me
Okay.
he said before the year the Cavs are going to win the East and they're going to win the championship. Yep, that's what he told me. Yeah, I'll credit my son. I disagreed with him. I said the Celtics are just loaded. I don't think there's any way they win the East. Here we are. here we are, bested by the 17-year-old again. Yeah. Here we
Well,
are.
he's got a
But
lot of time to watch it because,
well,
man, they haven't
yeah,
lost a game since February 5th.
right. Yeah, they're on a hell of a streak. I mean, they're on a hell of a streak. Um, they're 55-10. I mean, that's
Hmm.
that's not a good record. That's a great record. That's an all-time great record. You know what I mean? They've got 10 losses. They could finish the season the rest of the way undefeated. They could. I mean, they've only got probably what, 8 more games, 10 more games.
Well, if you take a look at the rest of the season,
20
got
games. Yeah.
Memphis, Orlando, the Clippers, the Kings, the Suns, the Jazz, the Trailblazers, the Spurs, Pistons are, kind of
Yeah,
tight
Pistons
game.
are good.
Quirk of schedule, they get the Clippers again. The Knicks,
Ooh.
maybe with
Yeah,
Jalen
yeah.
Brunson back by then. They get the Spurs again, the Kings again. So, yeah, I mean, it's
Gets
not
tough.
a murderer's row. Indiana
Just gets tough
twice, and
right
they
at the
get the
end.
Knicks one more time.
Yeah, it just gets tough right at the end with the Knicks twice and the Pacers twice and the Pistons once, because all three of those teams, that's I mean, perfect segue really. Those are the ones in the thick of who's gonna get
Hmm.
the 4 seed in the East. This is the hottest competition right now down the stretch between the Bucks, the Pacers, and the Pistons. That 4th seed really matters because you're avoiding the mega teams. The top two of this conference are the elite ones, and everyone knows it. Everyone knows you don't want to play the Cavs, you don't want to play the Celtics. You want to be able to at least get through the first round without playing them, and whoever grabs that 4 seed can avoid them altogether.
Yeah, and
It's
they're
really that
all in
simple.
a scrum.
Yeah, yeah.
The
I mean, the
Knicks
5th seed
were
will avoid it too,
separating
but
their yeah, the Knicks are kind of coming back to the pack a little bit. They're still having to get through without Brunson, who is the straw that stirs the drink of that team. I mean, he's the spiritual leader, he's the physical leader, he's the point guard, he's the quarterback, whatever you want to say. It's his team and they kind of play his
yeah.
style. And then the Bucks, the Pacers, the Pistons, they're essentially in a three-way tie.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
yeah, it's a tight
all around
race that
560.
gotta figure it'll go right down to the end.
And the play-in teams just aren't going to matter. The Hawks, the Magic, the Heat are not going to matter. The Bulls, if they can throw something together, it doesn't matter. Like this, the East play-in is going to be pretty much garbage. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Those are not good teams. But then it's like the hot stove. Like where then all of a sudden, right after them, it gets hot. And any of those three teams. And the thing about those three teams like, are the Pistons gonna beat the Celtics or the Cavs in a 7 game series? No, probably not. But they could. Like hypothetically, they could. Same with the Pacers. Like hypothetically, actually, the Pacers probably have a better chance. They're a little more athletic in the right spots. And the Bucks absolutely have a chance. Giannis could go off.
Sure.
Damian Lillard could return to form. They're the dark horse in there with two superstars. And that whole thing I've doubted since the beginning. Hey, maybe it works. You know what I mean? We'll see. We'll see. But yeah, like I've said for most of the season though, and especially now with Brunson hurt, the Knicks, I don't care if they do finish in third, even if they can hobble together, let's say like slightly better than 500 basketball for the last 18 games or whatever it is, it's not gonna matter. Like they're not gonna get past probably the second round at best, even with Brunson healthy. I don't think they're just too reliant on him and Towns, and I think they made the wrong decision at coach. I think Thibodeau is not the guy for that. He has a tendency to wear down teams, and I think he's doing it to this team. And it's just like I've said all season, an oversimplistic offense. Um, whereas like what Bickerstaff has done in Detroit was completely different. Even what the Bucks have been able to do, through some injuries here,
Sure.
and not getting everything out of Damian Lillard that I think that they signed up for and feel like they're paying for. Still playing pretty well. Giannis is having a pretty good season.
Yes. Almost
Yeah,
31 points a game. And yeah, when you take a
right.
look at the Knicks, they're so much driven by Jalen Brunson driving in, and the guy gets banged up. I mean, it
Hmm.
just comes with the style. He's a incredibly physical basketball player, and you create contact, you run to contact, you're going to get hurt some. So And it's just a matter of time. The same thing happened with the Knicks last year. They were banged up at the end. Julius Randle
Right.
was hurt. Jalen Brunson was hurt. And they just kind of crawl to the finish where at the beginning of the season, it looked like, hey, man, this is it. This is the Knicks team. Here they go.
Yeah.
And
Then that's
just
where
ran
you
out
look.
of gas.
That's where you
Yeah,
look
I'd
for.
agree.
Yeah, and that's where you look for some of these teams that have like a good mix of like youth and veteran leadership. Like I think the Pacers are actually in a pretty good spot. You know what I mean? Like Siakam and Turner, I have a lot of experience on them. Halliburton is a great young player. Nemhard's coming on strong. Matherin's pretty nice, and Obi Toppin is like a dunk contest waiting to happen every game. Yeah, you know what I mean. I think they're they're in pretty good shape. Pistons kind of same thing. Like they will go. The Pistons will go as far as Cade Cunningham will take them. It's really Cade Cunningham and then Malik Beasley off the bench. You're getting a little out of Toby Harris right now. I felt like Schroeder was a really nice pickup for them at the trade deadline. And then I know that like the two young wings, Sir Thompson and Ron Holland, are absolute forces on the defensive end. In that ways, it looks like an old Pistons team. And I'm anxious to see kind of what they can do. I think that's a team that can, like, if they get, I think the Celtics are actually a pretty good matchup for the Pistons because of what a Thompson and Holland can do in rotation on the wing, because
Yeah, and
really
physically
the
matched
Celtics
up.
offense, yeah, is heavily dependent on wing offense. And I, you know what I mean? I think they could do a pretty good job, and they're probably a year or two short, early on that though. Would be my guess. They're doing things that are kind of unexpected. But yeah, I mean, so really all three of those teams that we just pretty much covered the ins and outs of all three of them. I think all three of those teams, one of them could certainly upset either the Cavs or the Celtics.
Well, and looking forward, looking to next season, because like you said, the Pistons are extremely young. Do you see the Pistons as being capable of making a move with maybe an acquisition in the offseason like the Cavaliers did this year?
Yeah, I do. I do. I think the question is, what are they going to have to give up? I think they like a lot of their young players a lot, you know. So if you kind of look at the roster, it's like probably going to come down to picks, which maybe they're at a position right now where they feel like they don't need more youth and they can give up a few picks in the next couple of
Mm-hmm.
years. They certainly are going to have the cap space to do it. They got a few question marks. I don't know what they're going to want to do with Jaden Ivey, whose contract I think has a team option. It's not expiring, but it could. And do you move on from Toby Harris? I know he's been a nice player. I would imagine you keep him there. I know he's still under contract next year. Or does like maybe Ivy and Harris and a draft pick or two, maybe even the young point guard Marcus Sasser, do guys like that become trade pieces in the offseason? I'll tell you this: they're not signing free agents. I don't think Cunningham is good enough in the eyes of his peers right now to pull players like say, hey, I want to play with that young kid kind of thing. Um, and Detroit's not a destination. So they're not historically ever going to sign free agents without overpaying for them. Going to have to do it in the draft. So I think that, or by trade. So if they bring anyone in, it'll be by trade. They're not going to make a splash free agency sign.
Well, it is hard. It's hard to keep your free agents in. Not that Detroit's a small market, but a non-glamour market, I guess you'd say.
Mm-hmm. Maybe
That's
like
hard to
in
compete.
2 years, with Cunningham, if Cunningham keeps getting better and better, I think he's like at a budding superstar level now. If he gets to like where, let's say like where Jason Tatum is now, where he's like considered one of the consensus top 4 players in the league kind of thing, or top 5, then it's
Hmm.
like, okay, I could see another superstar wanting to play with him. I just don't think he's quite there yet.
Well, that's fair, but it's been a significant development for the Pistons, and they're definitely a threat moving into the playoffs.
Yeah, it's amazing the difference a year makes. I mean, they were absolute cellar dwellers last year, and with Monty Williams, and then I mean, what a crazy move to cut Monty Williams out after you paid him like he was the highest paid coach in the league just about. And they lost so much money by cutting him, and now they're in a better position with Bickerstaff. The very next year, you kind of felt like there was going to be a bit of a rebuilding period there, even though they'd already been through several rebuilding periods. But they just resurrected, and really, it's because of the play of Cunningham. He's become the superstar they thought they were getting when, you know what I mean, when they drafted him #1 overall a few years ago, out of Oklahoma State. He's become every bit of that.
Well, and that's what makes basketball so different than the NFL, even Major League Baseball. One player can make a massive difference because there's just less guys on the court, less guys in the game. If you get one transcendent superstar, it really elevates everyone. You could put a superstar
Oh
on
yeah,
a football team, and as we saw in the Super Bowl, if you have one glaring weak spot, the superstars don't matter. You're going to get beat.
yeah, yeah.
NBA, one person can really make a massive difference. And if you
Oh,
just hit on one
absolutely.
pick, you can turn around the franchise's fortunes instantly.
At any given point in the NBA, there are players, I would say, maybe one or two that you could take and put on any roster and they would be a competitor. And that is sensational. You can't say that about almost any other professional sport. LeBron James, for the better part of his career, if you put him on any roster, he would have made them a contender. Point in case,
Absolutely.
the 2007 Cavs team had no business getting to the NBA Finals. None. The second best player on the team was Boobie Gibson. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
Donyell Marshall. Take your pick. Or 38-year-old Big Z, who was barely Big Z at that point. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, they
there
weren't
was
great
nobody
teams
on that team.
around him.
But no, and he took them to the finals. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so players like that, be Jordan in his prime. You know, Doncic now. I think you take Doncic, you put him on any roster. You know what I mean? They become a contender to a certain extent.
Sure.
Jokic. I think if you put Jokic on any roster, you think about it. You take any team in the NBA, you put Jokic there. I think so. You probably got two of them now. Yeah, I think between Doncic and Jokic, you got two of them now. I don't think there's nobody else I can think of like that in the NBA right now. LeBron isn't there anymore, but at any given time, you have one or two.
I mean, is Anthony? I mean, there's all sorts of talk, and it'll pop up every so often. Oh, he's the next Jordan. Anthony Edwards. You put him on any other team, does it make a massive difference? Because the team he's on, they're 38 and 29.
Yeah, they're 38 exactly. They're 38 and 29. Like, you know, they're not a contender now, right? I mean, not realistically.
Yeah.
I don't think they're in anyone's top 4 in the NBA. You know what I mean? They're not a contender now, and that's with Rudy Gobert. Maybe in a couple of years, I think he's similar to like where Cade Cunningham is. You know, he's better than Cade. I'm not saying he's not, but by how much, I don't really know. You know, Cade's pretty good. You know what I mean? And provides some other things that Edwards doesn't, like great court vision and great passing. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, Edwards does look kind of like the second coming of Michael Jordan in a way, but maybe we're seeing in a way what Michael Jordan might look like in this league to an extent. There's also a lot of talk about that with the whole LeBron versus Jordan debate, is that like, as time has changed, like what would Jordan look like in this era? You know what I mean?
Well, that's true, because LeBron's played now in multiple eras, which it helps playing into your 40s. You cross a few eras when you play in 3 decades.
Yeah. So I mean, people like big Jordan fans love to remind you that like he was averaging 35 points a game. It's like, well, the league leaders average 35 right now. You know what I mean? Like all the league leaders average in the 30s now. And it's like, I mean, you got Jokic averaging a triple double as a center. There was nobody in the league, a big man averaging a triple double back then. Nobody.
No, and go back and watch some games from the Phil Jackson era of the Bulls, and then watch a game now, and it is a different style. And when we talk about that on the college show, that colleges, you see all sorts of different styles being played. In the NBA, with exceptions, I mean, obviously the Nuggets run everything through the center, but most teams, they're running a guard heavy outside in offense, as opposed to what you used to see a lot of isolation and a lot of inside out play. So it's
a lot of 5 out.
Era.
I mean, you literally see a lot of 5 out now. I mean, a lot of 5 out, and then like with a backdoor cut. You know what I mean? Like it just, it's kind of the way it works. And they're not running a lot of plays. They're not coming down and running a lot of half court plays anymore. The ball movement is better, I think, than it has been a long time, though. At the same time, even though they're not running a lot of plays, the ball movement, and though it's more of a conceptual offensive style than it is necessarily a play call. It's a rhythm that they get into, and The ball movement, I
Sure.
think, is better because they're looking for the open three. That's one thing that I think you can, if we can just tie a bow on the whole thing and come back full circle, you can credit the Curry Warriors with is bringing ball movement back to the NBA en masse. You know what I mean? Which is, I mean,
Sure.
I'm a kind of a basketball historian. Like I love, old school basketball, and that's one thing that I think the NBA really missed in that whole Jordan to Kobe era, in the isolation era, was ball movement at a high level. You know what I mean? And when the
Yeah.
ball moves freely in the offense, it's just more fun the game to watch. It just is.
Yeah, and I think time makes you forget that too. When people say, "Oh, all they're doing is shooting threes." Okay, well, if you watch some of that previous generation, all they were doing is four guys were standing to a side to let two guys play one-on-one, which wasn't
Exactly. It was
exactly
just
riveting basketball either. So
not
a little
really. Yeah,
mix,
not
a
really.
little balance is good.
And you have teams like the Lakers who are trying to really push it back the opposite direction. I mean, can they stretch the floor and shoot? Absolutely they can, but they also get to the line more than any other team in the league. They're more aggressive at the rim, and they're a true competitor with Doncic and LeBron. You know what I mean? So maybe they force the envelope. And then you look at some of the other more talented young players, like the like for instance, the Thunder are probably not going to truly contend unless Chet Holmgren can stay healthy for the playoff run. That is really
Oh,
key for them.
100%.
And you're talking about a guy who struggled to stay healthy, but a guy who's also 7'3". And then if you look on the depth chart, Zach Edey, a guy who's 7'4" on their roster, who's been a very, very nice player out of college. I always thought that he was a little underrated coming into the draft. That I always thought that, like, with Edey, like, look, if Wemby is going to be the best player in the NBA in the next 5 years, which I've never believed, but if that's going to be the case, isn't a seven
There's
foot
space for
five
some
guy that
others.
actually has pretty
Yeah.
swift feet and moves pretty well what you want? You know what I mean? Like somebody that can guard him a little bit. Like Edey is the
Yeah,
perfect
there's
elixir,
room
somebody
for
who's
more
more
than one.
stable.
I agree.
Yeah. So, and
Well, and
here we are with Wemby, missing the year.
we're into the we're into the heart of it. The NBA playoffs are on the horizon, and it's a great time to be talking NBA basketball as we come down to the prefaces of the NBA playoffs when the season really takes off. And
Yeah. The
each
the
week it's
final
going to
3 months of the
clarify even
season.
more. Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the longest off season in sports, but it's a good one though. I love and it's different because they get the same opponent night after night. A lot of these things that don't show up in the regular season, some of the weaknesses and some of the strengths end up showing up in some of these playoffs matches. And
Hmm.
like I think outside of the play-ins, like if you look at the West, I think that there's a little intrigue, I would say, with the Suns. I think there's your intrigue. Does that Suns team fight through the play-in to eventually claim the 8 seed and make any waves in the playoffs? I say probably not, but I think that's a good thing for us to talk about here at the end. Does Kevin Durant get another look at this, or has that window for that team, is it closing?
I I think it's closing, and I think it may be time to blow it up. Um,
Mm-hmm.
there's plenty of rumors circulating that this may be the end of the run in Phoenix for Devin Booker
Pretty interesting, isn't it?
because at a certain point you're paying so much money to these stars.
Uh,
If and I think Dallas was wrong. I don't see their logic, but at a certain point, if you don't think you can win it with what you have, well, it's time to blow it up because you're paying 40, 50, 60 million dollars to your
mm-hmm,
centerpiece player. If you don't think you can get it, move on. Time to go.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So yeah, no,
Yeah.
I don't think the Suns are getting there. No.
I know, I agree. Like if you've got to give Booker 50 million and then you got to go play Shea 5 times a year, I don't want that. Shea's markedly better than Booker, like markedly better. Like, you know what I mean? Booker's great, but like I feel like he shouldn't be making Shea money. You know what I mean? Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, Durant's great, but Durant's on the downside now. You know what I mean? Durant's in the twilight
Very
of his
much so.
career. So do I think they can fight through the play-in and make the 8 seed? Yeah, I think they probably do. Honestly, they should. It's funny because I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't. You know what I mean? But they should just breeze right through it. I mean, they got the Mavs, the Kings, the Clippers. Clippers can provide a little oomph, but I think the Suns should be able to overcome even the Clippers. But they've shown that they can't. They can't. And what a strange, just what a strange career arc for Kevin Durant, deciding to run away from all the stability in the world with Golden State and then doing the crazy thing to play with his friends in Brooklyn. Of course, that blew up in his face. And now he's in Phoenix. And now it's time to, think about retirement already. You know what I mean? It's like it kind of went pretty fast for him. And it kind of, in a way, got away from him. I mean, for a number of years, he was the LeBron stopper. He was the guy that the league tried to hold up as, hey, here's the second best player and the biggest challenge to LeBron. Frankly, I think that's why a young Adam Silver didn't, for two reasons, didn't block the deal that sent Durant to the Warriors. He didn't block it because he was new and didn't want to be that guy. You know what I mean? He was a bit of a pushover as a new guy, right? As a new commissioner. Two, he wanted a LeBron stopper. He wanted the Warriors to have something that would be able to rival LeBron. You know what I mean? So I think that was absolutely part of it. I kind of wish he would have stopped it. I always thought, the best record in the league, in league history doesn't need one of, a top 3 player in the league the next year. That's insane. Insane. I don't even think what the Cavs did with DeAndre Hunter is all that fair.
No, but they're not. They didn't block the Luka trade. They're not blocking any trades.
Not anymore.
The
not anymore.
Roll's done. Now the Stepien roll's done.
No, yeah. I don't think Silver would have blocked the Chris Paul to the Lakers trade back in the day. That got blocked. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't think there's any player movement that gets blocked anymore. Really, it used to happen. Kobe was rumored to go to the Bulls.
Cleveland Cavaliers were stripped of being able to make moves because they made so many stupid trades.
Yeah. Kobe was rumored to go to the Bulls for a while. He was rumored to go to the Pistons for a while, and it's rumored that the league shut both of those things down. Well, that's pretty interesting. That LA had to have a superstar, and especially when you consider under the guise of what just happened. Pretty interesting. Pretty interesting.
Oh,
that I will say, as we close it out, still remains the one NBA conspiracy that I currently believe in. That this is all a greater effort to tank that franchise and send it to Las Vegas. I think that's what's coming.
Well, you know who owns the team now, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that was always the play.
Who own the Venetian, so sure.
As soon as Adelson bought the team, when Mark Cuban sold it to him, and then they trade Luka. Oh, come on. I mean, it screams to me. And the stadium's getting a little older, probably needs an update in the next 5 years. I think that's part of the reason Cuban got out of it, didn't want to put his own money into it, didn't want to ask the city for any. You know what I mean? So I think that's the logical next step. So
yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's where it's going. All right, well, with that, we will end the spotlight on the NBA. So real quick, we'll do champion of the week in the NBA. Gerald, who's your champion of the week?
You know what? I'm going to go with the Joker because I think if you saw Stephen A. Smith's rant on the MVP, I think he's getting a short change. I think he deserves talk. I mean, you're a point center. You're averaging a triple-double. Man, you're in the mix and should be, I'd say should be the MVP. So I'll go with the Joker.
Yeah, I would go with Joker as the MVP too. But, the NBA is like a fake NBA award, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, the MVP is really kind of a popularity contest. So, and we saw that in the NFL this year.
Yeah, like are you on a good team that maybe we didn't expect to be as good as they were, and are you the best player on that team with a reasonably good stat line? That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah.
So if you ask those questions, Shea will be the MVP. And how many times have you won it before? Because if it's more than like 2, you probably won't win
Yeah,
it
you
again.
can't win it again.
So Shea
It's a
will
good
probably
pick
be
too.
the
I mean, he deserves it, but it's not a runaway. That's all I'm saying.
No, it's not. You got a center averaging a triple double. Come on, come on. The only
Well,
other guys to average triple doubles were all guards. You know.
he doesn't get the MVP, but he can get the belt.
All right, my champion of the week is gonna be Steph Curry. For a couple of reasons.
4,000
One,
threes.
his 4,000 3-pointer, which is what we opened the show with, and really just the resurgence that he's shown and the Warriors have shown since the Jimmy Butler thing, and how they've bounced right back into contention. So, so Steph Curry and the Warriors. It's mine.
Great.
All right.
Huge move.
Yeah, huge move. Maybe not the one that they first wanted. I know they were really trying to bring Durant back, but you know what I mean. I think this works even better because Butler provides more on the defensive end than Durant does. I think this move even worked better. I think he's a better fit than Durant would be. So with that, we'll end it. For Gerald Bentley, I'm Alex Campbell. Thanks for tuning in to the Spotlight on the NBA, only on Sports TV Plus. Adios.
See ya.